So today I wanted to answer a Facebook query that I received from someone who um, follows the YouTubes and Facebook updates. And the query is this: could you talk to us a little about the force of compulsion, feeling compelled to do things? I noticed today that when I am feeling bad, I feel compelled to do things. Not things that I like to do, mind you, chores. I'm sure this stems back to early childhood, but I just want to break the cycle. After I complete the chores, I don't feel better or good. How to understand compulsion as a motivating force as opposed to intrinsic motivators. How to replace this cycle with something new. Thank you. So as always, you guys are fantastic with your questions. Um, there are many that come on these YouTube videos, and what I find is a lot of the questions that come on the videos themselves are answered in other videos that I've made. So although I do make an effort to get back to you guys on things, some of it is just your own self-exploration and your own watching the videos and finding that for yourselves. So this one is, you know, I think we like to look at everything as separate and individual and very personal. Um, the reality is whatever is happening is all part of the same spectrum we call thoughts. So let's look at this compulsion to do things like chores, things when we're not feeling good and we seem compelled to go into a cleaning frenzy, or we're compelled to sit down and drink a bottle of alcohol, or we're compelled to reach for the bag of cookies and eat the whole bag. And all of this feels compulsive. It feels um, like we have no control and it's just taking over. The reality is compulsion is just a believing of thoughts like everything else. So let's look at this experientially. In the story of Kelly, when things weren't going her way or appeared not to be going her way, she reached for her bed and her covers. She climbed in and she got under the sheets and the covers, and that's where she stayed. And in that compulsive reaction to life feeling overwhelming, she would bury herself there and either sleep or just shut the world out. That felt like a compulsive reaction to life feeling too heavy. And when that was going on in the story of Kelly, there was never a believing that it could have been any other way. There was never a believing that there was something else, some other response to what was going on. What I do remember is that there were times where there was a wrestling with thoughts like, I should go outside and enjoy the sunshine. I should go meet up with friends because that'll make me feel better. Those thoughts would be churning in the mind, but above all of that and overwhelming more than any of that was the cocooning, or the moving into the bed and escaping what appeared to be too much. Compulsion is nothing more than a believing of thoughts. So when you're going through life and things don't seem to be going your way, because you mentioned here that this is when times aren't going your way. Let's see how you worded it. When I'm feeling bad is how you worded it. That you notice this compulsion kick in. So 2 steps before the compulsion is the thought that you're feeling bad, right? Something is going on, something's not going your way, and in turn the compulsion kicks in. So it's not about what is happening, it's not about the compulsion at all. The compulsion is the reaction to the believing of the thought. And yes, it's a conditioned pattern. Who knows where it stems from? It doesn't really matter, because there are no new thoughts. They're just recycled. It's about looking at what evoked the feeling that caused the compulsion. It's no different than an alcoholic who reaches for alcohol. They will often tell you after the binge that they saw the trigger. But because they've conditioned to grab the alcohol, drink the alcohol, and then react to it afterwards, and the guilt, that cycle or that conditioning has become part of their experience. So you're feeling bad, and the response to the feeling bad is the compulsion. And so the cleaning begins to happen, and then the cleaning is done, and you look around and you don't feel any better. So what I recommend is that when the cleaning begins, when you notice the rag is in the hand and the 401 spray is going on the counter, just notice that. Be with that for a minute. Breathe into it. Take a moment and ask, what's going on here? Take a moment and ask, what am I feeling bad about? What am I believing? What has happened here that I am believing? Ultimately, the seed of it will be, this should or should not be happening. There's something that's going on in your life that you're arguing with. The argument to whatever is going on creates this reaction or this compulsion, and it appears to be taking off on its own. There's so many gifts in these things that we do until we don't do them. And if we can look at each one of them as a gift versus as a curse, or even a compulsion, I wouldn't even necessarily call it a compulsion. I would notice, there I am being that. There I am being that compulsive cleaner. What has triggered the compulsion? Some believing in a thought. The believing in the thought is that you are feeling bad. Right? There's something going on that you're feeling bad about that apparently triggers the compulsion. It's no different than the trigger of a compulsive eater, a compulsive drinker, a compulsive sexaholic, somebody who's compulsively addicted to porn. All of these things are believing of thoughts. There's a trigger that appears to set it off. It's a believing in a thought of that trigger. So it's going back to the root of everything, going back to the root of what's appeared to be happening in this now moment that seems to have some tie to something in the past. We call it conditioning. We say it's triggered from my childhood. It goes back to Mom who used to make me scrub the floors. You know, we want to tie this now moment to some apparent past, and that's just not the case. There's only ever this happening. So when you find the rag in your hand or the vacuum in your hand and the compulsion is kicked in, be with it. Don't stuff it down. Don't push it away. Don't be angry with it. Be with it. Let the 401 spray. And as you're cleaning, as the cleaning is happening, or as the cleaning completes and you're looking around and saying, I still don't feel better, whenever the noticing is there, be with it. Ask the question, is it true that I feel bad? If you get a yes, what are you feeling bad about? Go to that, look at that, and ask it if it's true. Somebody left you out, somebody excluded you, somebody was unkind to you, somebody was rude to you. And then look at that. Is it true? This should or should not have happened. Is that true? It's about being with each one of these experiences. They seem linked, they seem related, they seem intricate, and yet they're very, very simple. And this is no different than any other feeling. Each one of these can be looked at the same way. I talked a little bit about this on Facebook today, about how another writer had written to me. Sorry, I'm looking it up because my mind's gone a little blank. About feeling displeased. No, that's not the one. Sorry, gang. About feeling displaced. I feel displaced, like none of what is going on around me has anything to do with me. And again, that is the believing of a thought. Displacement is fantastic. Compulsion is fantastic, because what it's doing is it's stirring to the surface that which wants to be noticed. It has nothing to do with displacement or compulsion at all. It never has. We've labeled those, we've named those, and that's where we want to focus. How do I make it go away? Well, you don't. You're not the doer of any of this. It's about noticing what's coming to the surface to be met with understanding so it can let go of you. It can be seen. It can be acknowledged. It can be welcomed. We are conditioned to get rid of displeasure, to get rid of all of these things that don't feel good. Well, we don't ever get rid of them. And so what happens is we just keep stuffing them down. I'll deal with that later. I just want to reach for comfort. That's all I want. I want the discomfort to go away, so I'm going to reach for the comfort. The comfort for me was the blankets. It was my bed. It was my cocoon. It was where my depression could thrive, and nobody could do anything for it or to it. It was mine. I owned it. And there are people who do this with food, with alcohol, with sex, cleaning, whatever it is. None of them are different. They seem to be individual and personal, but they're not. It just seems to be something that we grab for. Under all of that is a believing of a thought. So I know you want to replace this with something else, and I know you want to be done with it. How about meeting it, allowing it, being with it, understanding it, welcoming it? The pushing of it will just bring it more to the surface. That which we resist persists, right? And so the pushing down, the pushing down, the pushing down, the stuffing it, the burying it. I think there's probably a lot of people on here who would go, gosh, I wish I was a compulsive cleaner. There's worse things to be. Your house is clean, and as you're sitting there looking at it and going, I did it again. Dang it. I don't feel any better and my house is spotless. Well, look at the gift of having a spotless house, right? Instead of being drunk or gambling away all your money, you've got a clean house. So there's one great gift in this. And then the second thing is the noticing of it, the fact that it's come to the surface so much that you want to look at it. The next time it starts to do what it does, then simply notice it. Talk to it. Be with it. Why are you here? What have I believed? What have I thought that's made me compulsively kick into this conditioning? What just happened? What's been going on that I'm believing? And then looking at that, doing the work on that. So I hope this was helpful. What a beautiful gift to have it come to the surface. The stirring happens. The stirring will stir until it comes to the surface. It is a beautiful gift if it can be seen that way. We want to push away, we want to stuff down, we want to get rid of, we want to replace. How about just letting it be here? Loving it, meeting it with understanding. I send you a tremendous amount of love. Until next time.